Things just got a lot more interesting in Calgary as the Flames are currently the frontrunners in a busy Western Conference playoff race. Through immaculate vibes and surreal goaltending, the Flames could very realistically make the postseason way ahead of schedule. But how do they match up against the rest of the teams vying for some late April hockey? We're going to get into all that and more in this video, but first I want to welcome you to Flames Digest. I'm Mark Griffith. If you're new around here and you love the Flames, make sure you subscribe so you can stay up to date on all the latest news, updates, reports, and rumors revolving around your Calgary Flames. We would love to welcome you to the Flames Digest family. Before we get into the hockey talk, I have a very exciting announcement for you guys.
March is one of my favorite times of the year, and that is because March Madness is here. And that's why I'm very excited to announce that we are kicking off a March Madness bracket for the channel. We've partnered with the Hot Takes app and other Digest channels for this event. It's completely free to sign up. Just download the Hot Takes app, click the March Madness banner at the top, and under group select the Digest Media Pool. This is really exciting as there are over $35,000 in prizes to be won. And since there's a much smaller pool of people participating, there's a real chance in winning big compared to other bracket challenges out there. Check out the link below or scan the QR code to download the app, and make sure to use the promo code DIGEST in all caps to get exclusive perks when signing in. Again, it is completely free to sign up. If you have any issues signing in, you can go ahead and check the email down below and we will be able to help you out, and we cannot wait to see you in the bracket challenge.
Again, it'd be super cool if you guys can join that group. It'd be awesome if we can show off, Flames fans showing off their ball knowledge in a way. But let's get into the video and talk about the playoff race here, as it should be a spicy one, as we know. And that's why, things are really starting to get a lot more interesting here, because the Flames we are in practically mid-March now, and the Flames are still in a playoff spot, which a lot of people kind of can't believe in a way. So in this video, I really want to take a look at, kind of some of the other teams. Who are the Flames up against? Do we have games in hand? What are the schedules looking like? That sort of thing. And what better way to do that than with a perfect article by Wes Gilbertson from the Calgary Herald. All credit due to him for this one. So he writes, Flames, Canucks, Blues, or Utah. Funny how he doesn't say the hockey club. No one really does. Analyzing the chase for a wildcard spot. The Flames will host the Vancouver Canucks on Wednesday, a proverbial 4-point matchup. And it truly is. That game tomorrow is going to be massive, and we cannot understate that. You know what else is massive? Imagine. Sorry, that meme is so dead. Anyway, this article was posted yesterday, so I will preface that Utah has actually played since then. They played against the Leafs yesterday. A very interesting game. They came back. Huge comeback against the Leafs. The Leafs did end up winning, so Utah did end up getting a point, and they are 3 points behind the Flames now, but the Flames do have a game in hand on them. But let's jump in and first talk about the Vancouver Canucks. So their record right now, 29, 23, and 11, 69 points. They have 19 games remaining. Their season series against Calgary, the Flames have won 2 of 3 so far, including their thrilling comeback for an opening night overtime triumph. That still is one of the games of the year. Connor Zary dancing, Anthony Mantha, Gordie Howe hat trick, just absolutely amazing. So the Flames have done well against Vancouver this year, and it kind of shows in the standings. So the reason to believe the Canucks will make the playoffs is this. This one is easy, at least it is if Quinn Hughes can return to the lineup. He is easily their best player. The reigning Norris Trophy winner, when he's right, the best player in this race. He has the talent to almost single-handedly hoist the Canucks to a spring berth, but he can't do it from the press box, and he's missed 9 of the past dozen dates due to injury. As Flames fans, we're okay with that. Quinn, if you want to take some time, really make sure you're okay. We're okay if you don't play much. And the Canucks had a weird trade deadline as well. They did trade away Carson Soucy, obviously not to Calgary. But I don't know. Is their team better? Everything else? And that's kind of where we get into the reason to doubt. So why won't the Canucks make it? Where do we start? Whew! Harsh! It's been a soap opera season in Vancouver, starting with the rift between key forwards Elias Pettersson and JT Miller. Even with Miller traded to the Big Apple, plenty of juicy storylines remain. When will Hughes return? When will goaltender Thatcher Demko be back? And will he be able to stay healthy? When will Pettersson, with one measly marker in a 17-game stretch, start to light the lamp? He has been pathetic this season, especially in 2025. We could go on, but we'll wrap with one last question. When is it time to simply write this off as one of those seasons for the Canucks? As Flames fans, again, we are more than okay with it being, just one of those seasons for the Canucks. The Canucks were supposed to be really good. They had an okay playoffs last year. A lot of Canucks fans will say, oh, if we had a healthy goalie, we would have won the cup. Maybe would have beat Edmonton, blah, 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 all that stuff. But either way, it's interesting. So how do the Flames stack up against Vancouver? It is interesting. It honestly is very interesting. I think the Canucks on paper obviously have a better team, but in terms of vibes, in terms of health right now, the Flames have the edge, and they obviously have more games in hand. And that game Wednesday will really show a lot. Now, next team, the St. Louis Blues. They've been very hot lately. So they are 31-27-7 for 69 points as well, but they only have 17 games remaining. So 2 less than Calgary, obviously. And actually, I can't remember if I just said if the Flames have games in hand on the Canucks. They've played the same amount of games. So the season series against Calgary, the Blues were a perfect 3-for-3 with the Flames managing just 1 loser point. You think back to not long before the Four Nations face-off, the Flames actually played back-to-back games in St. Louis and kind of got battered in both. So St. Louis has had Calgary's number this year, and it might end up coming down to those games for a playoff spot, which is crazy. So what's the reason to believe the Blues will make it? Well, the Blues have been a playoff caliber club since a coaching change in late November, cruising to a 22-15-6 record with Jim Montgomery behind the bench. It was really the fire under their feet that they needed. At .581 win percentage, they own the 7th best record in the Western Conference over that span. Jordan Binnington is brimming with confidence after backstopping Team Canada to the title at the Four Nations face-off, and we all know a hot goalie can make a world of difference at this time of year. Just ask the St. Louis Blues of 2019. What's the reason to doubt the Blues? Well, the Blues have the easiest remaining schedule, based on average point percentage for their upcoming opponents, but they also have the least opportunity to gain ground, with all the other wildcard hopefuls holding 1 or 2 games in hand. So that's kind of a reason to doubt that, even if they stay hot, they might run out of games here. So that means they will need to keep their fingers crossed for help on the out-of-town scoreboard. They're also without their leading minute muncher and most reliable rear guard as Colton Parayko recovers from a knee injury. So kind of their biggest shutdown D-man is out for the foreseeable future as well. So games in hand isn't on their side. Health isn't on their side. Maybe the Flames also have that above St. Louis. Now let's get into the last one here. Talk about the Utah Hockey Club. So they are now, I can say, 28-25-11 for 67 points, but only have 18 games in hand. So like I said before, they are 3 points behind Calgary. Calgary has a game in hand. How has the season series gone against Calgary? Well, Utah is 2-0 so far, with their final head-to-head set for April 1st at the Delta Center. So actually, Calgary is Utah's preferred opponent so far in their short little history here. Again, hasn't gone well. Will it boil down to Utah makes it, Calgary doesn't because of the season series? Could be very interesting. What's the reason to believe Utah will make it? Well, it would be a great story, albeit a bummer for fans in Calgary, Vancouver, and St. Louis, of course, if Utah could snag a playoff spot in their first season in Salt Lake City. Even the possibility will generate a sort of excitement that they seldom experienced in Arizona, and they should be able to feed off that buzz in the Beehive State. So pretty much the reason to believe is it would be a great story, and there's just good vibes in Utah since they moved from Arizona. The reason to doubt, so during their days as the Desert Dogs, these dudes missed the playoffs in each of the past 4 campaigns. A lot of their go-to guys like forwards Logan Cooley and Dylan Gunther and starting netminder Karel Vejmelka don't have much big game experience in their NHL careers. Their depth took a hit with Monday's news that former Flames defenseman Juuso Välimäki will miss 8 to 9 months due to an ACL injury. He was placed on waivers anyway, so it's not like he was a big part of that, but it is true. Utah, they're still young, and they just don't, to me, have that push. They very well could be that kind of 8th seed in the West, but I really don't see them as being the team that gets ahead. That being said, who knows? With good goaltending, they could make it. It's very interesting. Star there, Utah did face Toronto on Monday, and of course, as I said, Toronto won that one in a shootout. So overall, it will be very interesting. The Flames match up very oddly against these teams, I guess. We've kind of had Vancouver's numbers, surprisingly. St. Louis and Utah have had ours, but we have games in hand. except on Vancouver, but we play them tomorrow. It's going to be a huge 4-point proverbial matchup, as was said in kind of the headline of this article. So overall, it should be very interesting, but please let me know down below, how do you think the Flames match up? Are they kind of the favorites at this point to make the playoffs, or is it still everyone's kind of shocked that Calgary is even in this position, and surely the luck has to run out at some point? It is interesting overall. Now let's get into a surprising stat real quick here before we get into the comment of the day, because I thought this was honestly, again, very interesting for Calgary. So here we go. The Flames, Oilers, and Canucks all have 23 regulation losses this year. That already on its own is absolutely absurd in a year where the Oilers and Canucks were supposed to be really good and the Flames were supposed to suck. So the records in overtime: Edmonton is 10-3, Vancouver 5-10, and the Flames 3-9. So essentially what's being said here, as you can see in the tweet, is that the Oilers are 3-on-3 merchants. Let's just say Calgary won all 12 of their games that went to overtime. They would be ahead of the Oilers in the standings. Let's say Edmonton had even close to the same record in overtime as we did. They'd be much further down the standings. We would be essentially right with them. It is crazy. It kind of also just shows how valuable having good players in overtime is. But it is interesting overall. The Flames still just seem destined to always pick up the Daryl Sutter point, and that's kind of how it's been this year. Maybe that will be the bane of them and why they don't make the playoffs again. It's eerily similar to a couple years ago where the Flames really should have made the playoffs if they hadn't lost 4 million times in overtime. But again, we'll just have to wait and see. Now let's wrap up this video with the comment of the day, as we love to do here on the channel. And this one comes directly from yesterday's video and kind of shows the whole idea of yesterday's video in a nutshell. But it comes from Pickled Cucumber 2000. They say, I don't know if it's just me, but the fact that we're at the bottom in terms of goals scored, but solidly in the middle of the pack playoff-wise is pretty impressive, especially considering the standings of previous teams like the Sharks and Blackhawks. Like, obviously something's going right that we aren't dead last in the standings even with those stats. And yeah, the something that's going right is Dustin Wolf. 2 words for you, Dustin Wolf. I mean, you can throw in the defense in there. You can throw in maybe some clutch scoring when needed. Dan Vladar's been great as well, but it really just boils down to Dustin Wolf, as we said in yesterday's video, and boy, oh boy, are we lucky to have him. Once again, the Flames franchise kind of getting carried by goaltending. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please subscribe, like what you saw here today, and have a wonderful rest of your day.